Welcome to a Skin Depth Convo. I'm Ella Cressman. This is a show focused on educating and inspiring all those in the skincare and beauty industry. But it's also a show for those who are looking for ways to improve themselves from the inside out. Or maybe you're looking to further your beauty education with a little entertainment and great conversation along the way. Well, we'll have plenty of that thanks to our two expert hosts, part of the founders of Lira Clinical, Metaxia and Francine. They'll be joining me in just a little bit, but as it is April, we thought that this would be the perfect month to focus on the CBD skincare market with a special 4-part CBD series. Now, cannabis is a sticky subject that brings up many questions. Many companies blow smoke when it concerns clinical efficacy and how to utilize hemp cannabis-infused products in the treatment room. Now, we've covered quite a bit of informational ground with the Hemp Hooray series, as well as this upcoming podcast series. And you can also get involved in the conversation by joining Francine, Metaxia, and special guest Ella Cressman, who will answer all of your burning questions live. Now, Ella will also be joining us for our 4-part CBD series. Now, some things they'll be discussing during the live seminar: Lira's direction with cannabis, isolate, CBD, CBDA, and other raw cannabinoid, broad spectrum, full spectrum terpenes, and the new entourage. Again, the live webinar will be on 4/20, which should be an easy day to remember. And for more information, just go to liraclinical.com. That's liraclinical.com. You can also see a link to the webinar on our podcast page. While we understand the COVID-19 pandemic is affecting the world and the beauty industry, we here at A Skin Depth Convo felt that we'd like to do our part by helping others further their education in the skincare industry. I'm sure many of you are at home feeling antsy and wondering, what's next for me and this entire industry? Well, take the time to further your education, ask questions, and discover great products that both you and your customers will love. And as always, feel free to email your questions to skindepthconvo@liraclinical.com. That's skindepthconvo@liraclinical.com. And if we feature your question on the show, then you'll receive a special Lira product. But for now, it's part 1 of our CBD series. This is your skin on cannabis. Why is CBD in skincare? We'll have part 1 up next, right after this word from Lira Clinical.
Lira Clinical takes today's skincare to the next level. Using cutting-edge technology and the best high-quality ingredients, Lira gives you brighter, healthier, younger-looking skin. With award-winning products, advanced education, and innovative skincare philosophies, Lira Clinical is redefining aesthetics and offering superior products and treatments that produce remarkable results. It's beauty from the inside out. Be bright, be beautiful, Lira Clinical.
All right, so here we go with our first CBD special right now. We're going to be doing 4 20-minute segments. Kind of get the joke there, 4:20, ha, ha, ha. But anyway, we're going to have some fun with this right now. There's a lot of information with CBDs in this industry. I mean, according to a report from Allied Market Research, the global CBD skincare market is expected to hit $3.48 billion, that's billion dollars, by 2026. Some more numbers to show how CBDs are actually skyrocketing in the U.S. Between 2014 and 2018, the sales of CBDs have increased by 474%. Sales are actually projected to increase to another 353% by 2022. So how is it that CBDs have become so popular so quickly? But more importantly, why is it in skincare, and are there truly benefits? Today, we are bringing in Ella Cressman. She's a licensed esthetician, certified organic formulator, and educator on cannabis and hemp for Lira Clinical. But that's just basically a tip of the iceberg of everything that you do with Lira. Talk about, first off, your relationship with Lira.
My relationship with Lira really starts with Lira. So as a licensed esthetician, I have been using Lira products in my practice really since the domestic debut of Lira. So I was lucky enough to be affiliated with one of the partners and trying some of the products that were launched internationally. I got to try them in my practice. And so that's the beginning of my relationship. After that, I helped with education, with spreading the gospel of Lira. And so it's just continued on. It's a product that I use and absolutely love for efficacy in my practice and for my clients.
Ella's always been a very knowledgeable esthetician, and so this is why we've been very, very blessed to have her from the beginning.
Well, let's talk about the whole idea of working, your relationship also with CBDs now with Lira, and how this all kind of came together. I mean, right now you're seeing CBDs have grown so much when it comes to the skincare industry. I mean, it's become so popular right now. But is there truly a benefit in having CBDs in skincare?
If you're asking about a benefit, you should ask me, because I thought this was never going to happen. I never thought we would have a podcast on CBDs.
You never thought that
No.
CBDs would be in any product, but you never saw a benefit for it?
Well, first, let's actually talk about this here, because one of the things people don't get is there's a lot of stigmas when it comes to CBDs. And actually, the benchmarking company put together a poll asking 7,000 beauty consumers about why they do not use CBD products. From those 7,000, 48% say they don't understand the benefits, 34% say they don't think it's skin safe, 32% say CBD beauty is just a hype, 27% say it's illegal on a federal level, and 15% are afraid of getting high. There's a lot of things when it comes to CBDs. Now, Ella, let's first talk about the law in general. People saying that it's illegal on a federal level. Is that truly the case?
No, it's not. And so I think it's important to differentiate. We're talking about cannabis today, is what we're talking about. And cannabis is a species of which marijuana is classified by the government, and hemp are the types, right? So the difference between the two, there's a lot of differences as far as chemical makeup, including cannabinoids, terpenes, and so on, leaf size, where they're grown, how they're grown. But as far as the federal government is concerned, and we're talking about on a federal level, the differentiating factor is 0.3% THC. So anything higher than 0.3% THC is considered marijuana, and at a federal level, illegal. Anything less than that percentage can be considered hemp and is permissible. And there's two reasons that it's permissible. The beginning was a 2014 Farm Bill signed into law by Barack Obama, set those parameters, and gave permission. And this kind of helps also to tell the story of why there's the influx of products in the market too. But in 2014, it gave permission to farmers to farm, and it was very ambiguous as to what happened after that. Like, you can farm it, and then we'll see what happens, and people and companies started turning that ambiguity into products. And then for the next 4 years, from 2014 to 2018, there's operating in a gray legal landscape. And then 2018, Donald Trump signed the Farm Bill into law that said hemp and any byproduct of hemp is not a controlled substance. And that is where the gray area lied. And now we see the other, domino effect of laws changing or permissions changing, like with banking and internet and so on, marketing, FCC stuff.
We were concerned back in 2018. First of all, Francine brought it to the table and said, we need to do this. And we looked at her and thought she was crazy. What is she talking about? There's so many different ingredients in this world. Why are we picking on the CBD? And she was insistent, to the point that we kind of made a couple protocols. We put them together. We send them out to all the reps. And it just wasn't the right timing. We were concerned about all the timing of it. The Farm Bill wasn't out yet. But what's really funny is that the three partners were wrong, and she was right. Because by the time we all got on the same level as Francine, there was CBD out there in numerous skincare lines. We walked down a trade show and we saw CBD in many very well-known skincare companies.
Well, it was unusual because it was 2018. I think, Ella, we were discussing all the CBDs, the benefits, and all the partners were really concerned because of the banking issue. And we were bringing this back to the table because you can go ahead and have a CBD product out there, but until the Farm Bill 2018 came about, the federal government was able to go into your bank account, find out what was going on, because it was still considered marijuana. Mm-hmm.
Potentially. And because there wasn't a defining moment. And I remember when that was a concern too for Lira. And it was because at that time, 2014 to 2017, late 2017, early 2018, banks weren't paying attention. And then in 2018, they started paying more attention, and they did start, it happened, but they did start shutting it down. And so if you had a product and you were selling it in commerce, internet commerce, they would shut down your entire operation, even though you have one product out of 50 that have it in there. And they would hold your funds until they could investigate it. And some of those funds were being held for 30 days, or you had to have a...
And we didn't need those issues. And all of the partners were very, very concerned at that point. So,
you made it well known when the Farm Bill passed in 2018.
Late 2018, too.
Yes. She came running in. She goes, look, I told you so. But no one listened to me. But I'm right. You were wrong.
What was your biggest stigma? What was something that made you say, no, I really don't want this in a product? I don't know if we should use this.
like you said, the banking was number one. You know, when you're putting a company in risk or questioning it with banking, and do you sell outside of the state? There was all kind of banking issues, but really, are we sure? Are we doing the right thing? Are we opening up something that we really weren't ready for? By the Farm Bill passing, it kind of made it more doable, but then also seeing going to skin shows and talking to chemists. I mean, there's multiple chemists that sat down with Francine, and she worked hours, and then Ella and her tag teamed it, and I could tell you the hours they've spent to really work this out and kind of bring it to the table with the legitimate way to do it and all the benefits, and the Lira way, which I hope you guys will explain, but they spent hours, and we were wrong. They were right.
Well, when we found out, it was December, and I think, Ella, what was it, December 18th? Something like that.
Yeah, it was December 18th,
Yeah.
2008.
Oh, I heard about
I remember. It's in my mind. And what happened is I ran down the hallway saying, it's done. We have it done. And now we can move forward. Because in 2018, we did put a prototype together, which was nice.
It wasn't Lira enough.
It wasn't Lira enough, exactly. We did put some CBD in there. It was a full spectrum. It was nice. The only thing, we put some vitamin C, and of course we tried to make it something special. It was nice, but because we had more time to start working on it, we got together, and Ella, the whole team here, got together, and we actually are customizing it to make it unique.
Well, so cool. My sons looked at me, and when I told them CBD, they said, "Are you serious?" How many times we used to get in trouble for this?
Absolutely. I was going to say that.
Yeah, and there's that association with Snoop Dogg, right?
Yes.
It's weed, you're going to...
Yeah. And my son said, "Are you serious?" And then I started talking about it and kind of, relaying the information that I was learning from Francine and Ella, and they were impressed that, it really has taken a full circle, but it's not the stereotype that we thought of years ago. It really has changed, and it is an incredible ingredient.
Yeah. I think your boys were laughing because I remember we were sitting talking about it, and she goes, "Yes, I hear you. Yes, but you did have an issue because people still have that stigma, marijuana on the face."
Yeah.
And they felt that there was a lot of issues that they had to be concerned about. And in all these years, they felt they're putting, drugs on their face. And we really had to explain it to them. In fact, I was telling Ella the other day, I have this necklace, Ella. You got me a necklace. And I walked into the pharmacy to get my husband's medication.
It's a cannabidiol molecule.
Yeah, cannabidiol molecule. I walk into the pharmacy. The tech said, "Oh, that's a very unique necklace. What is it?" And I looked at her and I said, "Oh, it's a cannabis molecule." And suddenly her body language was, you could see it. She got stiff. She looked funny, and she goes, "Oh," like she looked at me like, "Pothead."
Preconceived notion. Yeah, that's what people are thinking. It's like, oh, is this person,
Exactly.
into drugs? Is that what it is? Like, wait a second, let's look at the science benefits. And that's one of the things that we talked about here in this study and also in this poll. 48% say they don't understand the benefits, 34% they don't think it's skin safe. Let's talk about that. One, is it skin safe? And then what are the benefits of putting CBD in skincare products?
I think it's important to note, too, in that same poll, it also said that of the people who were curious about trying CBD, who were apprehensive initially, 80% of them said they would try it in a moisturizer. And that is interesting because you're not smoking it, you're not eating it. It's a more controlled environment. But getting to that, first and foremost, this is what we know right now. It's coming. More understanding. Mm-hmm. Here's what we know right now. It's a super antioxidant, cannabis, CBD, and other cannabinoids. Not to mention the other chemical components from the plant, like terpenes and such. But CBD in particular is a super antioxidant. And we know in skincare, antioxidants, pretty cool.
Right.
There are also studies pointing to one of a really cool component is that has sebocyte differentiation abilities. And so that means it's able to help control oil. So in dry skin, it helps encourage oil production. In oily skin, it helps slow, like, whoa, girl, it's, And then also with cell proliferation. And so it manages even cell turnover rates. And so those are things, as well as being anti-inflammatory, those are all conditions that we worry about or treat or look at, address, depending on your level in the skincare industry, as skincare professional. And I will preface that as long as it's intentionally formulated in the right way where that communication can happen, this is a pretty cool ingredient. This is revolutionary, potentially.
Yeah. All professionals look at ingredients. That's the one thing that makes a difference. The first thing...
they should.
They should, yes. The first thing they should do is pick up a bottle, turn it over, and see what the ingredient deck has on it. We should understand each ingredient. And when cannabis came out, we do have to understand all the benefits and the way and how to use it.
The only thing that I have to address, you could turn over a label and see the ingredient deck, but that doesn't mean it's really good ingredients. So I think what's really cool is that you guys have worked really hard with the labs, and you could sit there and document all the sources and how it's produced and how it's delivered to the lab. I mean, the testing that we have done, that you guys have worked really hard for, has really made us more confident, because anybody can put anything on a label.
Right.
What quality where it comes from, the source. These are things that I have learned to respect. It's not just marijuana on the face.
Right.
There is science behind it.
And it's
that's
also
what
taking out the best of the ingredients and putting it to its full potential, right?
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's much more than just getting a plant and putting it in a product. In fact, Fran bought a product in one of these shows, and it stunk. It stunk. I
think it was Cosmoprof or something.
Some big show. We went there, and it was the first time we saw a CBD booth. And she went up there and she got the product. I said, see, I don't like this. It smells. I don't want to put this on my face. Sure, that was the beginning. But all of a sudden, the science part of it really has changed to the point that it doesn't have that scent, but it really can deliver the benefits that Ella's talking about.
Sometimes you're going to get a couple cents. It depends on the product.
And it's a matter of refining it too. But also those primitive or those initial formulations were literally extract thrown in some coconut oil.
There were leaves
It's not
in it.
Sophisticated enough. And now what we've been able to do with science behind it is to create sophisticated products.
Right.
I mean, there was leaves.
It was in a waxy base, and it had some leaves in it. And I remember
Those are
opening
bathtub
it
bombs.
and applying it. And Metaxia was looking at me, and she's going, "Oh my God, I would never put that on my face." I go, "Well, just try it on your hand." She would not even put it on her hand. The scent was
Look at
too
her
strong.
face right now. For you guys can't see, she is totally disgusted thinking about it.
But don't you also have to be careful what kind of scents you also partner with?
Oh, absolutely.
With CBDs as well, because that's something that you may be like, yeah, let's just put something floral in there, but could it actually work against the product or actually just have no benefit at all?
Well, we don't use fragrance. That's number one.
Yeah, that negates the benefit of using effective ingredients.
And that's something we'll get into also in the next episode. We're going to talk about navigating in the CBD market. So that's something we're going to get into later. That's something we'll continue on. But real quickly, one of the things we really want to get into before we end this segment is frequently asked questions that clients may be asking their skincare professionals when it comes to CBDs. So stuff like, can I pass a drug test if I put this on my face? Is there any concerns about that?
There are concerns, and to be honest, those are valid concerns because we don't think that it's going to pass through and enter into the bloodstream. But who's to say? We really don't know enough about that yet. What we do know is what drug screens test for is THC, and they don't test for CBD or cannabidiol. So the difference would be looking at a full spectrum versus an isolate product. If you're using a product that's infused with isolate, and they both have their place on the market. It's a very passionate position in this space of, people on this side saying full spectrum, people on this side saying isolate, and they don't really get along very well. The truth is they both have a place, and for this reason in particular, if you're using products that have isolate, they're not testing for isolate, so you're fine.
LOS, the other thing they have is non-detectable. That's another thing I see on a lot of the packaging out there.
Non-detect or broad spectrum, and
Right.
and those are interesting. But just to be safe, if you're really worried about it, if you work for the government, if you're a police officer, if you're a construction worker and that is an issue, then using a product with isolate is fine. You won't get high from your facial, either unfortunately or luckily.
Well, what are some other questions that people ask you when it comes to CBD products? Like, do you have any weird questions, or what's the most common question?
Oh, I do, and I've seen it's changed because I've been doing this for a long time. So it used to be like they'd be in my treatment room, no one else is in there but the client and myself, and they're looking around, whispering like, "I'm not gonna get high from this, right?" Like nobody's listening, it's just us. But no, you're not. From can I travel with my products, which yes you can. And then another time I was teaching a class and I had someone raise their hand and say, "Oh, my grandma was really worried because I brought home this lotion last night and she was worried that my nephew was going to get high from eating the lotion." And I said, I think that's fair, but why is your nephew eating lotion? And it's more like that's what you should be concerned with, not the fact that your nephew may or may not get high. But the truth is, it's safe. It's potentially effective if it's formulated correctly. And it's not scary. It's not illicit. You won't be tripping and jumping out of windows because you put on an eye cream or a body oil. It's safe. And lastly, it provides relief.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing.
Well, one thing I have to say is between 2018 and 2020, I think the public's views on CBDs are completely different. In 2018, when we were first working on our first prototype, I remember explaining this to our Australian distributors and telling them that, we have a new prototype with CBD products and CBD ingredients in there. And they looked at us and said, no way, we do not want CBDs. Australia is not ready for CBDs. Last year, when we went to Australia and we told them in 2020 we should be releasing a product with CBDs, they are now having a special seminar for the release of CBDs. They are so on it and so excited about a release of a CBD product.
Well, we would do classes, and Francine would start off saying, well, how many of you heard of CBD products? And they would raise their hand. She would look at us, Brenda and I and Anna, and say, I told you so. I told you so. And
they wouldn't listen.
Yeah, we would go on tour, and literally in every class she would say, have you heard of it? Are you interested in learning more about it? And I would say the majority of the people would raise their hands saying, yeah, I want to hear more about it.
Or I even asked them, how many of you are using topical CBDs at this moment? And 3/4 of the room would have their hands lifted. And I'd turn around and I would look straight at them and say, see, they do understand. They're professionals. They understand why they're using it. This is why we had to get on.
But the key thing is it's Lira. And when we say Lira, it is the best of the best, because you could get glycolic and you could take and clean your bathrooms with glycolic acid. I mean, it's the quality. I mean, glycolic, there's grades of ingredients, and we have to be really careful on what kind of grade, how is it tested, I mean, the purity of it. So we've learned a lot. I think it's not just an ingredient anymore. It is science with all the technology to give you a really unique experience with the combinations that we've put together. It's just not an ingredient anymore. It's a lot more than that.
Well, you're right about that, because coming out with a CBD product is not just a CBD product. You have to make it unique. I think we've been all working very, very hard to make sure.
I can't wait for you guys to drop that bomb.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah,
It's coming, and there's going to be a lot. And look, not all CBD products are created equal. And that's what we're getting from you guys right now, is that figuring out the science behind it and what works, what doesn't work. And I believe, Ella, we've talked about this before. You said it, you could see it everywhere. You see CBD products in gas stations. You're going to find them everywhere. But in the next episode, we're actually going to navigate the topical CBD market. So we're going to look at the market and see what you need to know in order to find the right CBD products for you. Make sure to stay tuned to the Skin Depth Convo podcast, as we will give you all the information that you need to know in order to be educated in CBDs.
And if I could sit down and do a podcast on CBD, anyone can.
Exactly.
Because I was the one that would never in a million years think that I would be doing this, even thinking about a protocol and even putting an endorsement on it. But I have to say, I have changed, and I'm pretty sure the professionals out there will see what we're talking about and be changing like we have.
And that is education. Well, we hope that we can get all that education to everyone so they can understand the importance of why it's in a product.
And then we also want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. What are your questions when it comes to CBDs? But again, Ella, thank you so much. We'll get
Thank you,
into
Ella.
more.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And don't forget to email your questions to skindepthconvo@liraclinical.com. That's skindepthconvo@liraclinical.com. You don't want to miss a moment, so remember to subscribe to a Skin Depth Convo and stay up to date on when the latest podcast drops. And if you like the show, feel free to give us a rating. And mark your calendars to join Metaxia, Francine, and Ella for the live webinar on 4/20. For more info, go to liraclinical.com. That'll do it for today. For everyone at A Skin Depth Convo, thank you for joining us. Stay home and stay healthy, and we'll talk soon.
Hey Lira fans, loving our CBD series but have more specific questions? If you are a skincare professional and interested in incorporating CBD and hemp cannabis into your services, you don't want to miss our live Q&A on Monday, April 20th, 2020. Yep, that's 4/20. Get it? To register, log into your liraclinical.com account, select professionals, and then webinars. If you don't currently have a Lira account, don't worry, there's still time. Visit liraclinical.com, select login, and then complete the new account application, or contact corporate customer service by calling 1-877-440-5472. That's 1-877-440-5472. See you there.